This podcast is an expression of the personal views and opinions of the hosts and guests, and they do not represent the official stance of the podcast, its sponsors, or affiliated organizations. The podcast may cover topics such as drugs, mental illness, politics, and religion, which can be controversial or sensitive. The podcast does not support any illegal activities and advises listeners to seek help from appropriate professionals for any personal concerns related to these topics. The information provided in the podcast is for general informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for professional advice. Listeners are urged to consult with a qualified healthcare professional for any questions regarding their mental or physical health. The podcast and its creators are not responsible for any loss or harm resulting from the use or reliance on the information provided in the podcast.
Recording.
Turn my mic up.
Yo, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Street Stoic Podcast. It's your hosts, Nate and Jay. Go.
What up?
What up, Jay? So today we're picking out a couple of more quotes that we got in the store for us. I think I'm kind of liking that flow, Jay. I'm pretty sure you're liking that flow too.
Yeah, it's easier to bounce back and forth on.
Yeah. Well, and, that's the thing about, the Stoic journey and trying to keep it authentic is I feel like depending on what we're going through, different, yeah, I see your face, different quotes speak out to us. And, those are the quotes that help us through whatever we're going through. And though that may not be the same for either one of us or any of the listeners, we might not be going through the same stuff at the same time. However, eventually you might be going through something where it speaks out to you. So I feel like the more quotes we can get out like this and, talk about how they relate to what we're going through and the similarities and things, people will be able to connect with that more and see like a more diverse outlook into the world of Stoicism and the Stoic journey. I don't know. What you feeling, Jay?
Yeah, the reason why you got a reaction out of me was because I did attempt to do the single recording this weekend or this week.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I made it like 10, 15 minutes in, and all of a sudden I had a thought where it was just like, this isn't the type of material that I want to record a podcast for this type of podcast, because it was becoming a little bit too negative.
Oh,
and what I guess in my mind at the time, it had something to do with it's a concern that I have that I'll throw a little bit out there just in case anybody ever does want to hear my thoughts on it. And it's just a concern about technology and the advancement that it has on the human, brain, and how I don't think we're meshing well. Like, I don't think technology and the human mind are being balanced properly. I think a lot of the humans are abusing it, getting too distracted, and we're moving too far away from our natural selves, right? That's what I see. But that's probably a conversation for some other time, and if we want to go into that some other day.
Yeah, I feel like if we got into that avenue of a topic for a podcast, that might be like 3 or 4 hours, easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Yep. So, Jay, you said you got a quote from Will Rogers, right?
That is correct. So, because I do a lot of stuff on Instagram with, the quotes and stuff, and putting stuff together with, trying to pair it well with the art stuff that I do. I've already had to figure out that I need to be better prepared for them. So I've put a full list of quotes, just of stuff to use in the future. and little by little, the stuff that I come across, I'll plug it in there. So that's my go-to here for this podcast episode. I was going through them and kind of reading them and just seeing which one sticks out, which one actually, like you said, which one am I going through right now that actually hits me. And I think it's this one from Will Rogers. And it
Yeah.
says, "The road to success is laid with many tempting parking places."
Mm.
So to
Hmm.
me, this particular quote right now is giving me an understanding that, the stuff that me and you talked off air about my plans and some of the stuff that I have going on as far as plans for the near future.
Yeah.
I understand that it's going to look to a lot of people that I know personally like a very drastic or a very like crazy bizarre transition that I'm trying to do because I just did it. And I
Right.
guess it's not too much of a secret, and I'll just give it out now. I am relocating once again. When this podcast started a few months ago, we were, I was, based out of Austin, Texas, and currently I'm down here in Tallahassee, Florida. And my next move in a month is going to be to Des Moines, Iowa. And it's going to be a pretty big change. We're looking to downsize and just living just a different lifestyle, and it's another step in transition into a little bit less hectic, less problems. So for me right now, that's letting me know that regardless of what I feel like, maybe we're going to be hustling for a little while to try to make it to where we want to go. It's still achievable regardless, because I've already been there before. So that's one of the things that I look at. I go, I survived, so I can survive again. If I have to move on to another job where I get paid a little less, so be it. Eventually I'll
Right.
work my way up. I'll figure something out. Mentally, I'm a hustler. I've done it before where, my wife wasn't working for some time because she had just given birth, and I had to go and, pick up a side job just because we needed to make ends meet. So it's at the end of the day, I'm gonna figure it out, and we're gonna all figure it out. So
Right.
that, to me, that's what that tells me, that not to worry too much about what possibilities might come as far as bills are stacking up or anything. So at the end of the day, if I'm just continuing to be motivated towards just trying to get stuff done, working hard towards it, doesn't matter, I'm going to get it done. So it might not be as soon as I think I have planned, but I have to start somewhere. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and like listening to that, and then comparing it to like either other stuff that we've talked about off air, or maybe even on air, because I feel like now that we're getting some episodes in, people are starting to figure out our stories. Uh, in that quote, it talks about on the road to success, there's many. What do they call them? Parking lots or parking spaces?
Parking spaces.
Yeah, and so like those can be kind of like alluring, making you perceive at the time like, oh, that's a success right there, and maybe they could be, but that's kind of like why you're jumping around. It's like you keep thinking like, oh, this is gonna be it, right? Because that's all we know and that's all we can see at
Mm-hmm.
the moment. And then once you're able to kind of grab your bearing from that new perspective, you're like, oh, I do need to make another change. And, just from the outsider's perspective, I mean, I know we know each other, but still, it's been some time. I think, you know, people might talk about that, or like, like I think I understand what you're saying. Like, people talk, uh, just because it's like a drastic change and it may seem drastic to them.
Yeah.
However, I think part of that is people kind of avoid change. You know what I mean? Well, like we've talked about it before. We're creatures of comfort, and the sad thing is with families and friends and just relationships, is we usually are the ones who hold each other back. And that's just because we don't want to be there to help pick up the pieces when something fails. And that's no mindset for success. That's a mindset for comfort. And, you know, it's like when your parents, and I'm not saying don't go to school or anything in this analogy, but it's when parents are like, no, don't do that. Go get your education, get a degree first. So you have something to fall back on. And if life's taught me anything, if you have a plan B, plan A never freaking works. It's only when you have a plan A only, without any other plans, that plan A will work, because you're going to freaking make it work. You know what I mean? And, like for me, if I have advice for Jay, in which I am speaking to you, Jay, is like, dude, you just got to go after it. Like, I'm hearing what you're saying, like you're talking about Des Moines, and I'm just like, fucking get after it, bro. And, just like, where you're at now, like things suck. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like what you going to do about it? And then you tell me what you're going to do about it. And that's how it is. And that's how people grow. That's how we need to be here for each other versus, oh, Jay, don't do that. That might be too risky or something, like then I'm not promoting your success. Like how am I helping you be a better person? Like if I'm invested in this relationship, then I'm the person that says like, yeah, dude, fucking it's going to be hard and don't fucking fail. You know what I mean? And then, if you do, that sucks, pick your shit up and then fucking keep going. Like that's it. And I'm going to be there to help you keep going. That's it, you know?
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. This just reminds me of something I just shared recently, um, and I think it's by some fitness person on social media. I think her name is Tanya Paris, and she was saying pretty much the people that you should be, the people that you call assholes for talking to you a certain way that you don't like, are the people that you should actually be listening to, because they're the ones that really care and keep and tell you the real how things are. The people that are just pretty much just being there to comfort you and just tell you, oh, it's okay, those are sometimes the people that hurt you the most, because
Yeah.
they're not trying to motivate you and lift you up to be more successful, or just try to continue on pushing and grinding. So yeah, I completely understand that. I mean, I take the same approach with certain people. I have uh, don't want to give away who they are, but I have people close to me that are saying that they want to, pursue a certain career, and I told them like, go. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that completely different from out of their scope of work. And I told them, yeah, go ahead, go and do it. You can do it. And then I told them, if I find out that you start giving up, I'm gonna David Goggins you through this, if that needs
Yeah.
to be, because I'm gonna motivate you to until you get it accomplished. So, and that's how I feel. I feel that people need that. Certain people need that, because there's different approaches to the way that certain people handle it, but there are certain people, and I know when it's needed, that you can take that approach.
Yeah. Dude, and it reminds me of something I saw recently, and it might have been on social media. Um, I gotta apologize to everybody. I haven't been the best on social media just because what I've been doing is deleting it during the week and only downloading the app during the weekend, specifically to try to limit my time that I spend on platforms like that. And either way, uh, so I'm on there and it says like, I don't remember, it's something Beatty, so I could click on it, and it's this like tally. It's a linear line, and it goes by 10. And it says these are 10 years of age for each person, and it shows 10. Maybe it was by 5, and it says somewhere before 20 we start working. And then around 65 on average is about where we retire. So there's two lines on this graph, and then it boxes them out. And you can see that in between those two lines, from when we start working to when we stop working, that's a majority of our life, right? And it's cool being a kid. We all remember that. Nap time, snack time, you have fun, all that shit. And then, you see the back half, or not half even, like back third, quarter, whatever. And you see that it's retirement. And they say being a kid is fun and retirement is fun. And you can see that a majority of your adult life, you're you're working. So why do something you don't love to do? And so when people want to talk trash about like change, it's like, well, like instead of being like, what's wrong with that person, you could say, like, what happened? And so changing your perspective on, okay, this person went to school, they put all this time and investment, energy into this one thing, and they're doing it, and then they just make this abrupt kind of 180 from what you're used to. Well, is it a problem with them, or is it a problem with our mindset and how we're perceiving what they're doing? Because maybe they don't love that thing. Do you really want to spend a majority of your one life trying to do something you don't love? You know what I mean? And so you have to ask yourself, like, is that person doing what they love, or are they trying to figure out what they love? Or are they trying to go for something that they love to do? And then I think people don't like that perspective shift, because then it causes, one of the byproducts of it is, self-reflection. Then you look at your own situation, your own job. Am I doing what I love? And then you're probably saying no. And that's why it makes a lot of people uncomfortable to think about that. So I don't know, man. I say, like, stop trying to manipulate other people's lives, man. Think about it for what it is. Start living your life how you want to live it, and do shit that you love doing. Support each other doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Something that I like recognize in these moves that I do, and just a little brief history of kind of what I've been through in the last um, 10 years. I've lived in Miami, Portland. If we want to get specific, I've lived in Milwaukee, Oregon,
Yeah.
Beaverton, Oregon. Ended up moving back to Miami, moved up to West Palm Beach, ended up in Jacksonville, up in the Yulee area. From there, I moved to Austin, Texas, lived out there for like 3 years. So I've been around, and then now here, and then now to Des Moines. So every single time that I've done those moves, there have been, their ups and downs, their frustrations and stuff. But at the end of the day, especially now, I appreciate it a lot more because I recognize that it's like, this is on you. Every single experience here is on you. Um,
Yeah.
I'm getting to see different things, different perspectives, and I'm learning. I've picked up on everything like that. I've had to talk to people that have lived in those certain places that I've lived for years. They were born there. They moved there a very long time ago, and their perspective of how it's been for them living there. And you pick up on a lot of stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
definitely enjoy that. And now with that, prospect of moving to, Des Moines, um, I look at it as I'm gonna go and have new experiences and enjoy my time because it's all gonna be well worth it. I'm living in the present, so I'm enjoying every single moment of it, and I'm looking forward to it. There is a particular thing that me and my wife have talked about, and I've expressed it to her, and I've asked her if she actually feels the same way, which is that initial moment where you move to a new place and you do not know anything about the area. So
Yeah.
now everything is new. That feeling of new, where it's like, now I have to figure out what stores I got to go to go buy groceries. I got to figure out which gas stations are going to be good in order for me to pump gas. All those little things that you have to then now start building the routine on. That moment it's a weird euphoric moment because I always go back to those moments as like, I remember when I had just moved here and I didn't know anything about this place and I was still learning all of this stuff. So it's an interesting feeling.
For sure. Well, and then there's got to be a fair amount of like serotonin hits in there too, because it's a sense of accomplishment. Over and over. How many times do we get to start something new? And when you move and you're talking about not knowing the area, not knowing where to go to get your necessities, like as soon as you accomplish that and develop a routine, it's like boom, now I've got it, right? Like your dopamine kicked in to get it done. You had the drive to do it, and then you did it. You get the success, and serotonin comes in. You feel great.
Yep.
I get it. I get it completely, bro. But that's not all, right?
That's not all for what?
That's not all. That's not the only reason you're doing it.
Oh, moving there? No, of course not. It's there's goals now for sure. Like we've locked in a particular goal that we now have set in our minds as far as what we're working towards. There are different goals, and then we know that there's going to be different steps to it. So we're filling them in. We know what we have to do, and it's just pretty much motivated to do that. So I think as a family, me and my wife have decided that we're locked in here for this particular next. I want to say we're giving ourselves 2 years to see if how we can do this. We're trying to start a business out there. We're probably going to be out in those farmers markets out there trying to see if we can make something work out. That's what we're looking for, the opportunity. We're trying to see where we can make it happen. Everything out there seems to be pretty affordable and reasonably priced for a lot of things that in a lot of major cities it's not looking good right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of seeing inflation at its finest right now without any real rebound to equilibrium yet.
Yeah.
So we're kind of on that rocket ship, and I'm just waiting for that rubber band to snap back until we hit kind of a balancing field. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully something soon.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
not, then hey man, it's we're only gonna get stronger from this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna apologize for my dog right now. I got a puppy Malinois for those that are interested, and he's almost 6 months, so he's getting his energy back, and he's wearing on nerves. So I'm trying to make sure he stays energetic. And man, this kid, he can definitely entertain himself, so it's kind of fun to watch. Yeah, buddy, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens for you.
Yeah, you got to come out there and visit. We got to record a live podcast out there, man.
I know, man. Yeah, I'm working on some things on the back burner myself. I gotta start figuring out income. Just got the news that this free benefit through a union to go to school that I've been using is no longer being accepted by the Federal Board of Education. So I'm 7 classes short of graduating, and they're pulling the plug next term. So I got one more term, and you know I can't get 22 credits done in one term. So it'll just be interesting. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what I figure out. But yeah, it'll be cool. I gotta figure out some sort of help for income. All that stuff.
Yeah, you'll figure it out, man.
For
We'll all
sure.
figure it out.
Exactly. And I realize that we're about 20-ish maybe minutes into this thing, and we forgot to talk about Mike. So Mike, again, is not here with us tonight because the text that we got from Mike, we got a group text going, and he says that his wife's having contractions, so he's going to the hospital. We tried to tell him, hey, man, the podcast is more important. You need to be. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't try nothing like that. But so he's got a solid reason he's not here tonight. Mike's he's not going to be on the podcast. We're pretty excited for him. I'm hoping he's pretty excited. We can't wait to figure out what happens. I think they're having a baby girl, so that's awesome.
Congratulations, guys.
Yep.
I had told my wife that Mike had sent that in, and she goes, "Oh my god, I would kill you if you were to record on the day that we're supposed to be giving birth."
Yep, exactly.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna make the guy record a podcast on the day that his wife is giving birth.
I gotta apologize to Mike's wife. I told him this dirty joke uh, that I think she hooked on to pretty quick, but something I used to do when my wife was pregnant. You have to go in and get all these appointments, and they take your weight to make sure the baby and you are gaining weight, and all that stuff. They got to monitor everything. So I told Mike, hey, when your girl steps on the scale, you got to put just a toe on the edge of the scale and push down just a little bit. Because if you go too much, it's obvious. You go too little, it's believable. So you got to go just enough to where there's a question. And I guess he tried it out, and she got on him pretty quick. But yeah, so I gotta apologize for that. But it's all in good fun, good times. So I chose this Marcus quote, and I don't remember exactly when it popped up into my mind. I've read it a few times, but as of recently, this one kind of stuck out to me, and it's been like kind of burned in my brain, probably for the stuff that I'm going through. Either way, without further ado, from Marcus Aurelius, he writes, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." And I think, without knowing much or understanding philosophy or even from like the tactical world or like the warrior spirit, I guess. That's kind of hard for people to believe. But something that I thought I was really good at was keeping a calm mind in crisis. And that's because of my jobs. I dealt with a lot of crisis, and I was able to stay pretty level headed for the most part and execute. I'm a task oriented person, so those are kind of my grounding techniques and get stuff done. And something that I was frustrated with for the longest time was that it was more difficult for me to be stoic at home. And, most of what I equated it to initially was that I didn't spend a lot of time at home. And so it's just kind of like this new thing for me. And now, with the job switch, Jay's talking about he'd rather do something that makes him happy and get paid a little bit less. That's exactly what I did. I took this full-time training position. I love training, but it does pay a little bit less, but it allows me to keep some crisis in there. I'm home a lot. And so, I figured out like, even though I'm able to keep a calm mind in crisis situations, I think it's because I've been inoculated to those types of crisis situations and not so much of the crisis, quote unquote, in home. And I think we all have a different definition for that. And so to help kind of put us all on the same page, I'm going to define it. And for me, what I'm talking about crisis situation are just like the little things, getting ready before a trip. You got kids, you got a dog, all these different things. No plans or plans don't go right with your family. And those things, I think, we develop our frustrations. And because, we have, a few phases. I'm going to use something that we use at work just because it's a little simplified. But in our brain, we have a few phases of brain activity. One is autopilot, to where you're just going through the motions, routine. You don't have to think about it. And then you have like critical thinking, where you're able to like problem solve and use your frontal lobe. And then the last one is, your fight response, and that's the fight, flight, freeze, flock, fawn. I think there's like 7 Fs or whatever. I don't remember all of them. But what happens is most of us, because we spend so much time at work and time away from home, is that we use the critical thinking portion of our brain so much at work that we have, like, it's exhausting to be hyper vigilant, right? And so we want to slip into the green brain, the autopilot, once we get away from that, so we can rest and recuperate and all of those different things. And the thing is yeah, we do need that rest, but then there are times when we need to be able to kick that on and just be efficient at doing it. And then so with this quote, when I stumbled upon it, I really started to try to analyze what was happening to me, especially at home. And that's that I'm just inefficient in using that critical thinking portion of the brain. Uh, like I think at work, no matter what I was doing, I was able to switch it on and off because there was precursors that I understood. And at home, because we're so used to being in the green, or myself anyways, I'm so used to being in the autopilot that I'm not even observing for these precursors. And so right now I'm kind of working on a way to be able to do that, switch that on, and apply really the person that my family needs at home versus only doing that at work. And so that's kind of how I think of this quote from Marcus. Um, the nearer we come to the calm mind, the closer we are to strength. And our families are the ones that need our strength the most. And so, you know, some days you feel like you need to vent and all those things, but you come home and there's some stuff going on. Nothing big or anything, but you know, just regular household stress, we'll call it. And it's not time for you to vent. So you got to figure out, different avenues to develop resilience, so you can kind of. And I'm not saying compartmentalize it because I don't want people to forget about it. I think that's unhealthy. But maybe do it in an efficient way to where, okay, like maybe I'm going to put it in a box for 2 seconds, be able to be, you know, calm and empathetic to this, or reasonable to this one thing, this task at hand, and then, figure out a way to de stress myself, post problem solving phase, if that makes sense. I don't know, Jay, what do you think?
Uh, I'm trying to see how I can pair this well with what I have been thinking about, because I feel that lately, and trying not to sound like I'm bragging, but I feel like more often than not, I'm having a better understanding of what you're describing, right? Which is, those instances where you get really frustrated, like that things don't go your way, that, you plan something out and it didn't, happen to work out that way that you had envisioned. I had a lot of that. I had a lot of that growing up, even till, a couple of years back, where to me there was always a schedule, there was always time, there was always something set. So like, it was always like, we need to be there at this time, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. So everything was always in a rush, everything was always being done in frustration, because it's not being done, it's not happening the way that I had envisioned or that I had planned on it. And now it's just, I let go of that. I just, we get there when we get there. There's no reasons to try to rush everybody. I mean, there's times when it does get a little frustrating because my kids don't, they don't follow the same rules that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely a lot more calming to feel that you can develop, and it's like a strength. It feels like you are now a lot stronger in being able to, control your emotions, be able to not get frustrated, and just live stress free in that moment, and just whatever this is a moment. To me, that's always what I always think. When it comes to kids now, it's like, this particular moment here, I'm never going to get back. So am I
Right.
going to spend it being frustrated with them, or am I going to try to make it enjoyable, so that this moment here for them is something that they can reflect on back as something significant, and not those a continued addition to, oh, my father was always yelling at us, he was always
Mm,
frustrated. I don't want to continue adding to that, because I know that they already have developed that, and I'm trying to now, clear that up. I want it to be that, oh, when we were a lot younger, my dad used to be frustrated all the time and he would always yell, and they be able to know that, oh, there was a time when that all stopped,
mm-hmm.
and everything after that changed, and he hasn't been like that since. That's what I've only been working on for the last couple of, I think it's already at a year.
Right.
And it's been working. I mean, it's a whole, it's I felt like I took control of a ship that we were heading into, and it was just on autopilot, because that's the course that I had sailed on, and I didn't change it from when, I decided to leave my house, when I married my wife.
Right.
And now I kind of started steering it myself, and it's like, no, I don't want it to go in the same direction that I saw it going, which was just, I'm gonna end up being as frustrated as, certain people in my family that I'm trying to help and trying to have them understand that you don't have to live like that. You
Right.
don't. You don't have to view things that way, and it's just stuff there. But yeah, there's definitely some strength in that calmness, just being able to be in certain moments where a lot is going on, and just don't let it bother you. It's just, you can't control it, you can't do anything about it. Sometimes it's just, it is what it is, and you
Yep.
have to go with it. I mean, there it happens still. I mean, in the cracks, sometimes life is very frustrating. There are things that happen in life that, man, it can definitely cause you to boil your blood to boil in 0 to
Yeah.
60 seconds, and you're just like, why is this happening to me? Why does it feel like everything bad is happening to me on the same day? So I've had instances like that, and even then I feel like all you need is just time. Give it some time. Go out, take a night, take a walk, go, just leave your environment that you're in right now and just go do something else. And for me, it's just, let me go out somewhere with my girls, with my family, and then I'll I'll figure something out. and
Hmm.
and that's what I've learned. Instead of just just being home, just continuously keep going over and over and over and over in your mind about how that messed up situation is still like really bothering you. It's like, you know what, just take a walk. Literally take a walk, because
Hmm.
that can help. Go get some fresh air, all of that. I mean, we spend too much time indoors. That's also affecting us. So get out there, get some fresh air. When people tell you that, it's not just a saying. There's actually something happening in that. If you want to get
Hmm.
into how the physical body is affected by, nature, that's part of it. You need some sun. And so
Yep.
even that helps you out. It getting into your brain or into your skin and your blood flow and all of that. There's things that's causing you, just to put it in the most simplest way, because we can give you the scientific terms to that, because we've heard it on podcasts and all this scientific research. But the sun, whatever that is out there, is providing something that we're benefiting from, and is keeping us healthy. And so enjoy it, go outside, get some of that. There's people talking about grounding now, that you can just walk around barefoot on grass, and that's helping people out too. And
Yep.
just, there's this world. We got Everybody has to understand that we've only been living a modernized Western civilization world for like not that long. Before that, everybody was, living, they had their remedies that they would have to, mix, certain spices in order to cure a certain cold or a certain something. So it's, don't be afraid of that type of stuff, because it helped people. It still helps people. There's something still in that. But like what we're on, just, if you're stressing about something, man, just change your environment at that time. Just go do something else. Those are the type of things that help. And I mean, that's helped me. Maybe it can help you.
I couldn't agree more. Uh, you know, I'm gonna try to not have this go into the episode of what we talked about. We wouldn't for this with technology, but like the thing is with technology, we are hindering our natural bodies, right? Like we need the sunlight. We need to actually, and not through glass, not through sunglasses, and not imitated UV light, because there's so many more rays that come from our sun that our eyes soak up and need to develop cortisol, and cortisol is what helps us wake up. And you know I like when I see people with those little pedometers. Those are the things that track your steps. I think
Oh yeah,
pedometers. Now they're
yeah. I
in
think that's,
phones and stuff like that.
yeah.
But they say on average we should be getting about 10,000 steps. Some people consider that their exercise, but if you do the research, 10,000 steps is kind of like the average steps that we need, not including exercise. And that's because when they, researched kind of like Paleolithic lifestyle, people on average, so that could be higher or greater or lesser, depends on the day, but they traveled about 10,000 steps, and they say 10,000 steps because on, again, average, that equates to about 3 miles. Um, so each one of us has to adjust accordingly, but that's just to have the body develop those hormones and move the Krebs cycle, or metabolism is what people think of it, um, to do the things our bodies are supposed to do, to regulate our hormones, to be able to live healthy lives. And so, yeah, like all of those things are important. And I think a lot of people forget about that. And again, we keep saying it, but it's because we're creatures of comfort. We keep going for that easiest thing, that they don't want to do that. And I don't know. I'm not sure if this is unique to me and some friends, or maybe if everybody gets it, but they have a way of combating it. But like, I remember when I was switching between jobs from my last job to my current job, I took about 2 weeks off in between, because I was like, you know what? I don't really take vacations. I'm just going to take these 2 weeks just for myself and then hang out with the family. And the first 2 to 3 days were awesome. I did nothing. I vegged out. I was watching TV and all that stuff. And then shortly after that, I was like, this is stupid. Like, what can I do right now? And next thing you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to fix this in the house, or I'm going to clean up that, or I'm going to rearrange this room because the feng shui is off, or some lame excuse. And I'm not saying feng shui is lame. I think it makes a lot of sense. But what I'm saying is, I was basically finding quote unquote excuses to be busy on my vacation, when really, like, I don't think the body really wants that. I think that more than likely in our daily lives we're inefficient at balancing rest and relaxation. And so that's why we go through these phases of like super hard work, and then we work too hard, and then now we feel like we deserved this rest, and then we rest too much, and then we're like, okay, now I can't sit still, I need to do something. And it's this vicious cycle going back and forth, and it's like we just need to find a balance. And each person is going to be unique to them. Just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and some people don't get taught that from when they're young, and they just are
Right.
left to pretty much become the person that just sits on the TV after coming home from school and just eating,
Mm-hmm.
watching TV, and just going to sleep late. And now, I mean, I grew up in the time where uh, the PlayStation 2 came out, so I remember spending hours
Mm-hmm.
hours on there. And
Oh.
then eventually, the PS4 came out. I was into computer games as well. I was on there constantly, dude. I've gained and lost weight many times.
Yeah.
I've been on cycles as well, and I'm on my downward one right now, thank God. So I've been focusing on that, because I understand that that type of lifestyle that I just was accustomed to was not good. I mean, even till
Mm-hmm.
I can say maybe 2 years ago, I used to have consecutive days where after work it was just TV on the phone, drinking alcohol, sitting down, eating just nonstop, and barely even going to the gym, once a month, twice a month, because I still somewhat always felt self conscious about the fact that I've been doing all of that. But it was
Yeah.
always an excuse, like, oh, I'll just sit here and watch another
Yeah.
episode. And it's like, damn, like if I would have been properly taught, hey, man, you need to continue going out there and getting, getting some exercise, getting some work, and not feel like, but it's so hot out there, or it's muggy, or this or that, or all the excuses. Man, now I don't care. I'll get out there, wake up in the morning, go out, get my walk. I remember when I first moved out here, it was cold and chilly, so I was enjoying that. And even then, I was still making complaints. There were certain moments, certain days where I was just like, "Oh no, it's too cold." But
Yeah.
then there was like another day where I was like, "I don't care. I'm gonna put like two jackets on if I have to, and at least I'm gonna get one lap in." And and I've been doing it, and now it's ridiculously muggy,
Yeah.
and I'm still getting out there, and I'm like, whatever. At least I'm gonna sweat faster now when I'm out there. So that's you have to understand that you have to go through the suck. You
Mm-hmm.
have to go through the because there is no other option. You need to do something in order to stay active. Being
Yep.
active is necessary. You're not active, you're gonna gain weight. You're gonna gain weight, you're gonna end up getting all these medical problems. You're gonna end up having all these particular issues. Like that's stuff that we're not taught, and people think that because some people have an opinion on that, we're wrong for pointing that out. It's like no, it's just that some of us weren't taught right,
Yeah.
and we've been left to our own devices. And look at where we're at now as a society. I mean, a lot of us
Oh.
have gained a lot of weight, and I know that it has to go beyond that as well. The type of stuff that is in our food, and it's another
Mm-hmm.
topic for another day.
Sure.
But it's stuff that we need to be cautious about. We have to be aware. We have
Yeah.
to be conscious about that too. We have to be aware that what we put in our bodies is affecting us,
Yep.
and how much of it do you want it to affect you, dude? I'm at the point now where I can realize and understand when my sugar goes up and then crashes from
Yes.
like having ice cream late at night. Dude, the other night
Mm-hmm.
I decided, because my wife was eating ice cream, that I was going to join her at
Mm-hmm.
9 o'clock, and then I sit down and have a cup, and about 30 minutes later I'm knocked out. I'm like, I wake up like 3 4 hours later in the couch wondering, where the hell am I? Why am I here? That's how like out of place I felt, because I was like, what
Yep.
the hell just happened? Like I just
Yep.
like literally just zoned out, fell asleep, and then I wake up and I'm like, why am I on the couch? So the next day I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that again anymore, because now I know
Yes.
that that type of stuff happens to me, and I can't do too much sugar late at night. And sugar, I think also I have been doing a really good job of like cutting a lot of it out. Where now when I
Good.
do kind of do some things that have too much sugar in there, I can sense it. I can feel it. I'm like, holy crap.
Yes.
Now I feel that that's affecting me, and I don't like it. I don't
Yes.
like it, knowing now that that's what it's doing to me. I'm like, nah. It's what they say. It's a drug. Sugar, it's
Yes.
a drug, and we've been
Very
giving
much
sugar
so.
to kids, dude. I understand. Also, we live in a society where things are not that hot, that easy to just avoid some of these things. But I'm really trying my best now with my kids to cut back a lot, because
Mm-hmm.
they're snackers, and at this point I'm like, if you're gonna snack, you're gonna snack on fruits and some other stuff like peanut butter or whatnot, but we're not bringing any of that other junk that we were constantly stocking in our pantry, because I can tell too. Like you can see it in kids. You give them some sugar, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be hyped up, and then you have to now wait
Mm-hmm.
until they crash, and then you can then they calm down. But we're putting kids through this too. It's like we're making them addicted to the same thing that we've been
Yep.
addicted to, and it's not good. So if
Without
you
a
can
doubt.
catch it, especially being aware now as the adults that we are and our understanding of this, then we can help prevent that from continuing on.
Yep. Man, there's so many things you're talking about, and I was like, we could go down the rabbit hole on this. Because, exercise, doing something that sucks, and something that I've been trying to map out a little bit better for exercise. I'm just going to do snippets is, frequency and intensity. So, people should know by now I'm working out twice a day, every day, no days off. I've had to take a couple of pause days due to some illness. And believe me, when I could work out, I was. And there were times physically it was a no. And that was a hard thing for me to do mentally because I had been doing it consistently for so long. Um, but we were talking about that balance thing earlier, and you have to balance out your intensity. Um, and one of the things I like to do is about every third day, something is pretty intense for me, exercise or physically wise. And on those days, yeah, I'll like listen to something, podcast or music or whatever. But I like to focus on the things that my mind perceives as problems during those times, and those are actually what drive me to push harder physically. And I feel like while doing that, because of the endorphins that come with it, it actually has been helping me problem solve a lot of those things while while doing something physical, and I'm able to think through it. So not only do I use it as motivation, but I'm using it as um, a time to work on like my mental game, my resilience, my fortitude, things like that. And it's been helping me crush it recently. So I really enjoy that. Um, for a little bit, I was like, man, this is really hard. And it is hard. Don't get me wrong. And I was thinking, oh, when I'm done with this, I'm going to take like 2 weeks off again and then just freaking go after it again, try the next step. But I think I'm just going to take like a day or two off and then go for it. And I think those days I'm going to end up doing something that's going to be considered active recovery to balance it out. I'm not going to just do nothing and then I'm just going to keep getting after it because it's so beneficial. And I'm starting to figure out that balance now that I just want to keep going. I don't want to lose it. The other thing that you were talking about was that sugar crash and how you felt it spike and then it came down and you were kind of conked out and you woke up like, where was I? And what's interesting is based on like a lot of research uh, that I've been doing is there's a big difference between being unconscious and sleeping. And a lot of people don't understand the difference. And so, back in the day, I used to drink alcohol and delve into other things. And those things people use as quote unquote sleep aids. And what happens is those things actually, the way they respond in your brain is they put you or they help you into like a more unconscious state. And just because you're unconscious does not mean that you're actually gaining restful sleep, going through the circadian rhythm and the cycles of sleep. And so, people like, oh, I'll have a glass of wine before bed. And I get it, like red wine, a glass, every so often is good for you. It's got antioxidants, all those things. I'm not hating on that. Just when you're using it as a crutch for sleep, or some people use CBDs and THCs and whatever else to help with sleep. And there are benefits to those things. So don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying don't touch those things. I'm just saying be very careful with how you go about your rest, especially things like restful sleep. Until you're actually, trying to do your own sleep studies or participating in a sleep study, be very wary of those things that sleep aids that might help you, fall asleep faster. I feel like there are other things that, are actually going to help you benefit from that. Even like NyQuil came out with their ZQuil tabs, and all these things are basically doses of the same effect of alcohol. And what's happening is they're just helping you pass out. And just because you pass out, like Jay was saying, he woke up and didn't know where he was at. He had that feeling of disorientation. Those things are because you're in a state of unconsciousness rather than sleep. And so if you want to get sleep, or if you're a person that needs help going to sleep, I think you need to start looking into what is my barrier to sleep? And a lot of us, and I'm not saying everybody, we all have something different. There's a lot of stuff out there, but a lot of it is that not it's that active mind. Some people like restless leg might be associated to it and things like that. Our brains are just going 24/7. We have anxieties about the future and depressions about the past. We can't shut off our mind to get that rest, and you have to think about it. I saw something the other day that said the first 5 minutes before you fall asleep are the most important, because you're basically turning off most of your brain to relax, and it's going to sit there and marinate for approximately 8 hours or however long you fall asleep. And so the things that you think about will help determine the quality of your sleep and the quality of the mood that you wake up in the next day. And I'm kind of bouncing back and forth because I don't want to make the back half of this episode a sleep conversation, but something, that I've learned through Stoicism and trying to conquer your mind is that to build resilience, you do need rest. A hard, a hard day's work earns a hard night's rest. And so you got to put in the work and you got to sleep. You got to get your rest. You got to go through those stages of deep and light and REM. You need all of those things. That's going to help you be healthy, mentally prepped for the endeavors that you're looking forward to meet. Anyways, I went off on a little tangent there, but dude, you said it, and I was like, boom, something I've been focusing on for the past few days.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, something I thought about, which I had also had a thought about earlier this week,
Yeah.
because I am part of the doom scrolling community
Doom scrolling.
throughout the week. Yeah, so I get on the TikTok and I get on the Instagram and I go through those videos that
Oh,
I see
gotcha.
on there. So something that I see on there is for whatever, and it's not even just recent. I mean, I just feel that people should be wary of anything that tells you that you can take this and lose weight, but you don't put any work into
Mm,
it.
amphetamines.
That's that's not good.
Nope.
Regardless of whether they say it's natural, regardless of whether if you're not putting in the work, then what the hell kind of thing is it that's inside of your body?
Yep.
Because the only natural way that you should be doing it is getting exercise, getting out there, sweating, doing something. If you're having to put something in your body in order to cause it to do that same thing, it's you're taking the easy way out, and that easy way doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the right way, because that might have some lasting effects.
Oh
There's a lot of
man.
things right now that don't have studies on them yet, and people are doing them, and they're going to have lasting results that
Yep.
later on they're going to be like, well, that came from this that you did
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago.
Yep.
So to put something like that in your body, maybe we should be worried about that, be cautious about that particular thing, right? um
Yeah.
it's like everything, man. You have to put in the work. We got to stop thinking that we have developed something that'll eliminate that. We have to stop living in comfort, because and it's also the same thing, because we can go harder on hard drugs, right? Besides
Mm-hmm.
the weight loss stuff, we have people that are taking drugs to stay awake,
Yep. Without a
and you
doubt.
stay awake, and what's happening to your body? Where
Yep.
is the rest? You begin to decompose. Your body requires rest. So if you're
Yes.
forcing it to continue to go without it getting rest, proper rest, by the way, the one where
Mm-hmm.
you are, like you said, in REM sleep, because there are people that don't realize that, oh, you can work 12 hours and then come home and get shit faced and then wake up the next day and think that, oh, but I got my sleep.
Right.
No, you have not been doing anything good to yourself. You were
Right.
abusing your body to begin with, which, some of us do it, and that's I don't judge you on that. I mean, that we all have our vices. Some of us still do stuff like that, but to do it constantly and then think that you're actually getting rest, it's like, where do you see logic in that, right? Where do you see logic in the fact that you and I think maybe that's what it is, because sometimes I have this like realization that I think I just know more than certain people. Like they don't know these things, or they are just ignoring it. They don't care, so they just do it.
Yep.
But then they ask themselves questions later on, like, like, I don't know why I feel like shit all the time, or why my body hurts, or why this is. It's like maybe the thing that you did here and there and all this other stuff accumulated all together is the cause for this.
Yep.
So sometimes we definitely have to find the calmness in us to reflect and see that these things, although they are comfortable, although they are fun, although that they bring you good times and memories in certain occasions, for your individual body, it's not helping you a lot of times. It's catching up, and especially at a certain age, you're gonna feel it. I mean, I'm
Yes.
already damn pushing 30. I'm almost at 40, and I'm already recognizing all of that. Right? I can sense, when one beer is already kicking my ass, and I'm like, holy crap. So you start picking up on these things, man, and
Yep.
I wish I would have known this when I was younger, because I probably would have slowed down a lot sooner than where I did. Um, I wish that I would have known a lot of things, but hey, amor fati. I learned
Yep.
from this, and I'm good with it. But if I can help anybody out there, if you're young and you're partying and you're doing all this stuff, it's fun, dude. It's fun in the moment. It's awesome, but there has to be a time to recognize that. Okay, what am I sacrificing here for doing this? Because you are doing something. Because a lot of depending on the environment, maybe you're in a city where you party often and you stay out late, but the next day you have to go to work. You're jeopardizing that job. You're not going to be performing the same way that you normally would if you had your rest and you weren't hung over or whatever it is that you're on. Just recognize these things, because maybe you'll stop sooner if you start recognizing, like, I don't want to feel like this every weekend. I don't want to feel a certain way. I want to feel healthy, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to put the work.
Yep.
Figure it out and put the work in.
All right, man. Well, I think we're pretty close to an hour, so yeah, dude.
I think we're good there.
I feel pretty good about. I think really soon, hopefully, Mike can hop on here, and I really want to do a long one because we could talk about technology for a long time. We could talk about health for a long time. Yeah, I think those are some future topics coming up here. So yeah, I'm excited.
Good. I got to unleash on that particular topic, because I was ready to go in, and after a while I stopped. I went, this is a little too negative right now. I don't want to push that out, but I think in a
Sure.
conversational way, I think we'll be able to, you know, riff on it and go back and forth. So I think I'm ready to
Yeah.
to have that conversation. So we can probably do it in the next couple of weeks. I'm ready for that one.
Sounds good, bro.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yep. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in again, and we will see you next time on the Street Stokes podcast. Later.
Peace.